For the last 2 months, a fragile ceasefire laid a blanket of relative calm over the Middle East. The political messaging during this window was highly optimistic. President Donald Trump even suggested publicly that a comprehensive diplomatic deal with Iran was merely days away from being signed. Then, a U.S. Army Apache helicopter, similar to this one, went down while flying a patrol route off the coast of Oman. An American sea drone had to be deployed to pull the two pilots from the water. U.S. officials were left facing an immediate, high-stakes question. Was the crash a mechanical failure or a deliberate attack? The regional military posture is built for rapid response rather than lengthy investigation. In this environment, the loss of an asset often triggers strategic protocols that prioritize immediate retaliation over determining the exact intent of the crash. Acting directly under orders from the commander-in-chief, U.S. Central Command initiated a massive overnight military response, striking nearly 20 distinct targets inside Iranian territory. This map details the strategic focus. The U.S. military targeted air defense and radar systems clustered around the Strait of Hormuz. Washington maintained these were military targets, but Iranian media reported civilian infrastructure was caught in the crossfire, including 2 local water reservoirs. Tehran executed a rapid counter-escalation. Iran's Revolutionary Guard announced they were firing directly at regional U.S. infrastructure used to launch the initial attacks. The exchange immediately leaped across borders. Warning sirens triggered across Bahrain, alerting personnel at the headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet to the incoming threat. The Iranian retaliatory fire pushed further up the Gulf, expanding to target U.S. airbases nestled deeply in the deserts of Kuwait. The barrage even reached the extreme western edge of the American footprint. The Jordanian armed forces had to engage their own defense systems, successfully intercepting 5 incoming missiles aimed at a U.S. installation in eastern Jordan. The physical strikes immediately gave way to an information war. Tehran claimed they successfully destroyed 4 of their assigned targets, while the U.S. military insisted there was 0 damage to their facilities and 0 American casualties. In a matter of hours, a single helicopter crash off Oman triggered explosions in Iran, sirens in Bahrain, and missile interceptions over Kuwait and Jordan. The sheer geographic footprint of the exchange proves how easily localized friction can ignite the entire Gulf defense network. While the superpower exchange consumed the Persian Gulf, the broader regional ceasefire was simultaneously fracturing on a completely separate front. In southern Lebanon, the city of Tyre became the target of a condensed, heavy bombardment by the Israeli military. The military issued sweeping evacuation orders that covered the entire city limits, demanding that even historically untouched Christian neighborhoods empty out immediately. Standard warning protocols quickly collapsed. Devastating strikes leveled entire blocks without warning, killing at least 8 civilians before any official evacuation notice was broadcast. This sudden surge in violence slammed into an already exhausted population. Before the 2-month truce even began, 1.2 million Lebanese civilians were already displaced from their homes in the south. The collapse of the truce here was entirely bilateral. Hezbollah fighters continued their ground operations against advancing Israeli troops, abandoning any pretense of a pause in hostilities. When you pair the devastation in Tyre with the missile intercepts in Jordan, the localized incidents reveal a systemic diplomatic failure. The overarching ceasefire is breaking down at all fracture points simultaneously. Officially, both Washington and Tehran insist they want diplomacy to prevail, but the physical reality of the overnight destruction contradicts those statements entirely. This diagram illustrates the mechanics of a tit-for-tat escalation loop. When a ceasefire simply pauses the shooting without resolving the underlying hostility, grievances are stored up. When violence resumes, each side retaliates proportionally, causing the destruction to compound rapidly with no obvious exit ramp. The events of the past 24 hours exposed the total lack of geopolitical guardrails. A single spark was able to bypass every diplomatic safety mechanism in place. International observers are no longer holding their breath to see if the 2-month regional truce will hold. They are actively mapping its dismantlement. The helicopter crash acted as a tripwire, pulling the regional defense networks into a descent that the 2-month truce was powerless to stop. The events of the last 24 hours suggest the period of relative calm is over.